Hey everyone, I'm Emily and I'm 30 years old, just a regular person taking care of my home. Standing here today, I can't help but think about the tangled mess my life used to be, all the things I felt forced to do, what everyone expected of me, and the quiet sacrifices people we love make. My story isn't just about me. It's also about my dad, a truly kind man who, without meaning to, got caught up in all the demands of my married life. About 5 years back, life seemed simpler. I lived in a tiny apartment in a busy part of town with my husband, Mark, and his mom, Carol. You might picture a happy family living together, but there was this big catch. Me being there was always based on one silent rule. My dad would pay for everything. Every single month, he'd quietly handle all our bills. You could see it weighed on him, but he never once showed it. Living with Mark and Carol felt like constantly walking a thin line. Carol was very bossy and had a sharp tongue. She made her expectations crystal clear. It's for the best, Emily. Your father has plenty of money, and it makes life comfortable for us, she'd say, her voice sharp, making it sound less like a suggestion and more like an order. Mark, my husband, just stayed quiet through it all, his silence echoing the tension in our place. Even though it was uncomfortable, I stayed because I loved Mark and believed in my marriage vows. I kept hoping things would change, that we could be a real family connected by love, not just money deals. But deep down, I knew I was holding on to a dream that was slowly being crushed by all the things we didn't say and the fake smiles we wore. Looking back now, I understand how those years shaped me. They taught me how to be tough and showed me the sometimes painful truth about love and family. I had no idea the biggest tests were still ahead, starting with a phone call that would turn everything upside down. The day my dad passed away was absolutely heartbreaking. It broke me in ways I never thought possible. I remember every painful detail. The urgent phone call, the frantic rush to the hospital, and the cold, empty hallways that seemed to grieve with me. He'd had a sudden, severe heart attack, and despite all the doctor's efforts, he was gone before I could even say goodbye. In the days that followed, wrapped up in my sadness, I felt this overwhelming sense of loss. It wasn't just losing my dad. It was losing the solid ground my life was built on. He had always been my rock, my quiet strength during tough times. Without him, I felt completely lost, vulnerable to all the strong emotions that swept over me. It was during this incredibly difficult time that my dad's lawyer called me to his office to talk about his will. Thinking about legal papers felt so strange when I was deep in grief. Sitting across from him in that plain, neat office, I listened in stunned silence as he explained what my dad had left me, his only child. He had left me $40 million and a huge, beautiful estate overlooking a lake. The numbers were massive, unbelievable, and as I heard the news, part of me just wished it wasn't real. When I got back to the apartment with the heavy burden of inheriting so much, the feeling in the place changed instantly. Carol's eyes, usually cold and calculating, now burned with intense greed. She cornered me in the living room. "Emily," she started, her voice dripping with fake sympathy that quickly turned demanding. "You need to put that $40 million into my account, and the estate needs to go to Mark. It's what's best for the family." Her demand just hung in the air like poison. I was still trying to cope with losing my dad, and here was my mother-in-law, not offering comfort, but trying to use the situation to get rich for herself and her son. Her nerve was shocking, and in that moment, I knew their kindness had always been fake, depending entirely on what my dad could give them. "I can't do that, Carol," I managed to say, my voice sounding stronger than I felt inside. "That money and the estate are my dad's final gift to me. They're not for anyone else to take or control." The look of shock, followed by pure rage, on her face was terrifying. She stepped closer, whispering in a nasty, venomous voice, "You will be sorry for this decision, Emily. I promise you that." As I stood my ground, the apartment felt smaller, like the walls were closing in, threatening a storm. I had finally stood up to Carol for the first time, but at what cost? The foundation of my life was about to be completely shaken, and I braced myself for the trouble that was definitely coming. The consequences of refusing to give them my inheritance came fast and hard. Within days, the apartment I shared with Mark and Carol felt less like a home and more like a battleground, filled with bad feelings and silent accusations. Mark, The man I loved and trusted now looked at me with a mix of confusion and anger. The man who promised to be there for me through thick and thin seemed lost, stuck between his mother's controlling demands and what was left of our life together. The tension hit its peak one cold morning when Mark handed me the divorce papers. His hands were steady, but he wouldn't look me in the eye. "Emily, this is just how it has to be," he mumbled, almost to himself. The words felt like a sharp blow to my already hurting heart. I realized then that I wasn't just losing a husband. I was being thrown away because I no longer fit into the convenient plan they had made for me. I signed the papers with a trembling hand, the ink of my name marking the end of one life and the uncertain start of another. As I packed my things, Carol watched from the doorway, a satisfied, cruel smile on her face. "You brought this on yourself," she said, sounding victorious. Forced out of the apartment, and with the divorce making me feel completely alone, I moved into the grand estate my dad had left me. It was beautiful and huge, a stark contrast to the small place I'd been kicked out of. Alone in the echoing rooms of my new home, I struggled to make things feel normal again. But it seemed fate still had more in store for me. Mark, now facing the difficult reality of his choices, had a serious accident at his job at a construction site. The accident left him with a broken leg and unable to work. The irony of his situation, once strong, now injured and jobless, wasn't lost on me. It wasn't long before he showed up at my door, his pride gone because of his desperate situation. "Emily, I need help," he said, standing awkwardly on crutches on my doorstep, looking like a shadow of his former self. "I messed up, but I'm in a really bad place. I can't work, and I have nowhere else to go." Looking into his eyes, I saw how desperate he was and the faint hope that maybe I would fix the problems he created. But the hurt was too raw, the betrayal too deep. I had learned a tough lesson about protecting myself, and even though every part of me wanted to help, I knew I couldn't. "I'm sorry, Mark," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "I can't. You made your choice, and now I have to make mine." As I closed the door on Mark, and in a way, on my old life, I felt the last connection finally break. It was time to rebuild, not just my home, but my entire existence. The path ahead was mine alone, and I was determined to rise from all this stronger than ever before. As things settled down after all the upheaval, the big, quiet rooms of the estate my dad left me seemed to whisper of new possibilities. It was here, among the large gardens and sunny hallways, that I started to think about a new purpose, a safe haven not just for me, but for other people who were getting older and didn't have anywhere to call home. Inspired by my dad's lifelong dream of giving back to the community, I decided to turn the estate into a welcoming place for seniors. The idea was to offer more than just shelter. It was to create a lively community where their stories, wisdom, and laughter could easily mix. I put all my heart and resources into fixing up each room, making sure it felt comfortable and warm everywhere. The work was tiring but exciting. With every new light fixture, every piece of furniture I carefully chose, I felt a part of my old wounds healing. The physical work of building something real was therapeutic, a big change from the emotional pain I'd been through. It was during these days of hard work that I truly came to terms with the end of my marriage and the betrayal that came with it. As the home got closer to being ready, I started meeting people who might live there. Each older person had a lifetime of experiences etched into their faces and a cautious hope in their eyes. I listened carefully to their stories, each one showing how resilient people can be. Slowly, the estate started filling up with its new residents, their presence bringing life to the once empty spaces. One resident in particular, Mrs. Davison, a cheerful 80-year-old with bright eyes and a knack for telling stories, became like the main figure of our little community. Her tales from her youth, full of humor and wisdom, became a regular event in the common room at night, making everyone who listened smile and often shed a tear. "It's about making the most of every single day, dear," she told me one evening as we sat watching the sunset from the porch. Her words really hit home, reminding me that time flies and it's important to appreciate every moment. Amidst the daily routines, I found unexpected happiness in simple things like sharing meals, celebrating birthdays, and just lending an ear. The estate wasn't just a building anymore. It was a living, breathing community, a mix of lives woven together by our shared humanity. And in this busy place, full of new beginnings. I found myself again. Free from the problems of my past, I started looking forward to the future with open arms, ready for whatever adventures came next. My dad's dream had come true, not just in building the home, but in the community it nurtured. By making his dream happen, I found a new purpose and felt a deep sense of peace. The healing power of helping others had given me a fresh start, and for the first time in a long time, I truly felt at home. The seasons changed as the home for seniors thrived under my care, and with each day that passed, my heart felt fuller with the joy and love around me. It was during one of my regular visits to the local community center for an event that fate decided to bring back someone from my past. Alex, I exclaimed in surprise, recognizing the familiar face across the room. It was Alex, my friend from when I was a kid. His kind eyes and gentle smile used to be a source of comfort and laughter during our school days. Now, here he was, looking very professional, but still with that same warmth in his eyes. "Emily, it's been ages," he said, sounding genuinely happy to see me. We talked about everything and nothing, filling in the years of missed connection and memories. It felt like no time had passed at all, yet here we were, so different from the kids who used to race bikes down the neighborhood streets. As our meetings became a regular thing, the connection we rekindled grew stronger. Alex was a steady presence, his calm way of being a big change from the difficult relationships I'd had before. His interest in my work and how eager he was to visit the home and meet the residents really touched me. He didn't just listen. He got involved, bringing laughter and joy to everyone he met. One crisp autumn evening, as we walked through the grounds of the estate, Alex stopped and turned to face me. He looked serious, but also gentle. "Emily," he began, his hands nervously fidgeting with a small box he pulled from his pocket. "I've seen how much happiness you bring to others, and you've brought so much to me too. I can't imagine my future without you. Will you marry me?" His proposal took my breath away. Not just because I didn't expect it, but because it felt so right. Here was a man who saw me for who I truly was, who had been my friend for so long before he became someone I loved. "Yes, Alex," I replied, my voice steady and my heart full. "Yes, I will marry you." Our wedding was simple but beautiful. It was held right in the gardens where he proposed, surrounded by the people who had become like family to me. With the golden light of the setting sun behind us, we exchanged vows of love and commitment. Life with Alex brought a feeling of completeness I'd never known. Together, we handled the challenges and good times of our days, always supporting each other, always kind. My home, which had been the start of my new life, now also became the symbol of our future together. Thinking back on everything that brought me here, from feeling completely lost to feeling so happy, I am reminded of how life can surprise you. Every step, every decision led me to this moment. I am truly thankful for the hard times, because without them, I might never have truly appreciated how beautiful my life is now. And so, with Alex by my side in a community built on love and respect, I look forward to the future. Every sunrise reminds me that you can always start over, and that amazing things can happen when you're open to change.